Thank you so much for taking the time. You're leaving tomorrow, aren't you?
Yep. Yep.
Taking the time to come in here and do this podcast. I'm telling you, it's giving me goosebumps. The people are willing to come the day before you leave and you're doing this. It doesn't hurt that you're just staying right above where we are.
Yeah, it took us all 2 minutes to get here, so it's not such an imposition. It's all right.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Lin. This is going to be wonderful, fantastic. Well, the way I usually start off is to ask you, like, where you're from, where were you born, Lin? Let's start with you, ladies first.
Well,
Come on.
I was born in Shanghai,
Okay.
China,
Right.
and I would say probably 3 countries have been significant in my life. So China, where I was born, and I was there until I was 12, and then from 12 to when I came to Japan, largely in the U.S., and then Japan.
But listen, when you grew up there, did are your mother and father still alive?
They passed.
They passed?
But they immigrated to the U.S.
Okay.
And I was 12 when I joined them.
How many siblings did you have?
One.
Sister, brother?
Older brother.
How many years difference?
Almost a decade.
A decade. So you were raised like the only child?
Yeah, very much so.
So you said
With
so
3 parents.
With 2 parents?
With 3 parents because of my brother.
Because your brother, 10 years older, he acted like a parent. He never acted like your brother. Right? So tell me, so when you left China and went to the States, did you speak English?
No.
And you were 10 years old, so
I
you
knew
went
the
to where?
alphabet.
12.
I knew the alphabet. 12.
You were 12 when you went there.
I knew the alphabet.
Okay.
And I knew some phrases. And it was British English as well. So slightly different from American English.
Right.
And I went to Midwestern America, Iowa.
That's
So
where your
I had
parents
to-
went?
Yeah, so I had to forget the British English quickly.
Right, real quick. No more boot of the car, and no more tidying up. You had to clean up.
How do you do?
How do you do? That didn't work anymore.
No.
So how long did it take for you to assimilate, do you think, from 12 years old when you went to Iowa?
I think that's a tough question to answer because there's the initial stage where you get over the language barrier and you can more or less function. I don't know, that probably took a year or 2. But I think the full-on assimilation, it took years. Like to mentally accept, okay, I'm in this country
And I'm
for
gonna-
good, I'm never going to be Chinese fully anymore, and it took a lot of years of acceptance.
Did you lose your Chinese, or you still speak Chinese?
I didn't. I speak Chinese. I still do.
So what did your parents do? What kind of work did your parents do?
Academics. My father, back then, the main avenue for which people go to the U.S. from China was study, unless you're like joining your long lost relatives or something. But it's mainly studying. So my parents were like that. My father was a college professor in China, so he went to Iowa State University.
As a professor?
No, as a student.
As a student. And then when he graduated, what did he do?
He taught for a little bit in a small town in Indiana.
Are they still there?
No. He eventually.
Oh, you just said they passed, right?
Yeah, so he eventually returned to China because it was very important to him to be with my grandparents until the end of their lives. So he actually spent probably a decade in China when my grandparents passed away. And then he came back to the U.S. and he eventually passed away. Just a couple of years ago, actually.
Your mother, way before that?
A year before my father passed away.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, but they were bouncing back and forth between the U.S. and China.
How old were they when they passed? Just out of curiosity.
My father was 81.
Okay, that's not bad.
My mother was, it was unfortunate, she was in her mid-70s. But she was actually healthy all her life, but she got ALS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no explanation, don't know why.
Right. And your brother?
He's around.
Are you close? Are you close? Are you close to your other parent? I mean.
Yeah. Actually, once I
he's in the
became
States.
an adult.
He's in the States, right?
No, he's actually back in China as well.
He went back to China?
Yeah.
How old was he when he went back to China? Why did he do that? Because it's booming. That's why.
Yeah, because he never Americanized as much as I did.
It just didn't.
Because he went as a like college graduate. He went in his early 20s. So his
And he didn't speak English before he went either.
his English was
Okay.
yeah. And but so for him culturally, he was still way more Chinese than American. So he likes China more. So he's lived in China for the last decade or so.
Where?
In Shanghai, back in Shanghai.
Is that where you came from, Shanghai?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been to Shanghai because I had a medical equipment business, and I used to go to China all the time.
Yeah.
When it first opened
Yeah.
in the 70s, late 70s.
Yeah. I was there
You were there. You probably were. You were still. Yeah. When did you leave? What year did you leave?
in the 80s.
In the 80s? Because
Yeah.
I stopped my business in the 90s, actually.
Okay.
In the 90s, right after the Gulf War. I only had
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
Pete, were you in China too?
No, I mean the first trip I made to China was
With
with
me?
Lin, and so she was a fantastic tour guide at the time. So
Right.
we were students at the time. So we actually met in Japan
Okay.
as university students. So we were both study abroad students at Waseda. So we met there, and then Lin was kind enough to sort of grab a bunch of students from Waseda, and we all went to China. So that
There
was
was like 10 of us.
a big adventure in the early
You went to
90s.
college here.
Just
For
1
a
year,
year,
study
for a
abroad,
year,
like
study
a student
abroad.
exchange.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where Pete grabbed you. He saw you said, okay, she's not like the rest.
Yeah.
She's not like the rest. Okie dokie, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, at that time when we traveled in China, they actually had two currencies, which I guess you probably
Right,
remember.
yes,
The
yes.
foreign
One for
one.
foreigners.
They
and
sure
one
did.
for-
They
yeah.
sure did.
And-
They wouldn't allow us to have
Yeah.
the regular. You
That's
couldn't
right.
have it.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. And
Yeah.
so we would go to these attractions in Forbidden City or something like that,
And you- and
you
you're
know
being
you
followed
give your
too.
money,
You're
and
being
then
followed
the
too.
person would be paying you back, and they would slip you the other bills
The real
because they
ones,
wanted
yes.
to keep the
Right, they
better
should do.
currency
Yes,
for other things.
yes.
And you couldn't recognize because they just threw it at you. Lynn was the one who was policing all that. Like,
No, give him the.
Yeah, give them the real. Give them
You better give them the real stuff.
That's
Give them
right.
back their
That's right.
money.
What do you want to
And
use?
look into.
Yeah, it was really funny. But yes,
Where were you born? Where were you born?
I was born in Toronto.
in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up in Canada.
Right.
My mother is Japanese,
Right.
and my father is British. So they were both immigrants to Canada.
That's why your Smyth is spelled with a Y.
Yes.
Oh, with a Y.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
my
wait.
father's-
But wait. Is that because usually in England, very similar to Japan, people got names based upon what they did,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean,
So he didn't want to be known.
not just any other
Any other
blacksmith.
Smith, right?
Just
He
any-
wanted,
right,
he
right.
wanted to be.
No, this
he said,
is.
let's change this
Yeah,
I
this
to
is
a Y.
Yeah, ye old blacksmith.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm the owner.
OG
That's
kind
right.
of blacksmith. That's right. No, so I mean, I think my lineage on the English side, there's a lot of academics and there's some school teachers and things like that, and it goes back in a certain way. But I think. I don't know any smithing that's technically in my background, but maybe somewhere.
There could be.
Yeah,
500
but,
It's
years
been
ago.
weeded out. It's been weeded out.
and in that region of England, they do pronounce it Smith rather than
Smyth.
Smyth. So that was the yeah. And,
But did you ever pronounce it Smyth?
No, never. So for Lin, it's kind of funny because Lin's first name is Lin,
Which is the Chinese spelling.
Which is the Chinese spelling. So that when and then my name is Smith, Smyth.
Right.
So for Lin Smith, like there's all kinds of variations of Lin
No,
Smith
but people
that
all
you
want to
get.
spell it Lyn.
They sure do.
So they want to
Yes.
spell it L1.
SMI.
Right.
They want
Right.
to swap the I and the Y.
Always.
I'm going against the grain
Yeah.
Right.
name.
Yeah. But
How many siblings?
0. So
See,
I'm
the
an
only
child.
child. That's why he's so calm with the boys. All the time when he'd come to the class and I'd have him in there, and he just, because he didn't know how to do it, he never had siblings.
He's
He's
in
supposed to knock
shock.
him against the head and stuff, and just.
No, I'm too blessed to be stressed.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm working the
Really,
taglines.
that's what I'm talking about.
That's right.
He's just too blessed to be stressed. Tried for that girl 3 times, it never happened.
No, that's right. No, so,
And I saw you
Yeah.
with 2 of them when you were pregnant with 2 of them.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, of
That's
course.
right. You went through 2
Because
pregnancies.
how old is Nate right now?
13.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because he started when he was about 1
I
or
think
2.
so, something
I think so,
something
he's
like
about
that.
one or
early,
two.
early,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Jake just wasn't going to have it. He just wasn't having it. He said, hey.
Jake liked the running around and kicking the ball. Like
I know,
that
but
was,
he-
that
the
was his
trampoline
thing. The
just said,
trampoline
look,
was
he
not.
said,
the trampoline was.
I'm not
Who
gonna-
is this guy?
Yeah,
that
what
keeps-
do I have to, why do you keep on
what
bringing me
is
over
this
here,
guy?
Dad?
Why does he keep coming and
Yeah,
grabbing
coming
my
at me
hand?
and trying to
what's-
leave me alone.
No. Yeah,
He didn't want to do it. It took Nate forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Nate got into it though.
Yeah,
Nate
he
is
did.
Nate in general, once he gets into it,
He got into it. He did get into
He
it.
really
But
enjoys it.
Liam wasn't that big a problem so much, I thought.
Liam's
Was he?
pretty steady. Liam's pretty
He
steady.
was, I thought so.
Yeah. But no, so I think all three of our kids have been born in Japan. So
But when you grew up in Canada, how long did you stay in Canada before you left?
no, so pretty much my whole life up until
You were what age?
when I left, I was in my 20s. So I mean, I kind of went through university. I went to University of Toronto.
Okay.
So I grew up in Toronto. Went to university there. On my third year,
Worked there.
on my third year of university, I did the study abroad to Japan. That's when I met Lin, because she did the study abroad from her university in the States.
Okay.
And then came back, worked for a few years in Canada, and then ended up moving to Hong Kong.
But when you so while you were in the States, the thing I was thinking just then, so I can get my train of thought
Sure.
right. You finished there in Canada. Once you finished in Canada,
Yeah.
and you said you came abroad, you studied abroad 1 year,
Yeah, during my university.
Like third year.
and then you
Yeah.
went back. Then you went back.
Then I went back to Canada, finished my university, ended up joining an investment bank, worked in investment
Because you
banking for a
studied
few
what?
years.
Economics?
No, international relations. So it's same as Lynn.
Both
so,
of us.
Okay.
Same major.
Because you, because you worked before. I mean, I remember you were always working as long as I've known you, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
we-
you still are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're sort of a two.
A power couple.
No, we're
That's how we
Two
like
income
it.
family.
Yeah.
Two incomes, two big.
Humble,
humble, yeah.
humble.
All the
working.
French benefits.
Right, yeah, at the American
That's
club.
what it is.
It's pretty.
Tell me, this is
very
really
fortunate.
nice.
Very
Too
fortunate.
nice.
Yeah.
No.
So did you grow up speaking two languages or one?
No, so I played a lot of ice hockey when I was
Is that
a
the
kid.
sport? That's your
That was the
sport?
I mean,
language.
that's Toronto.
Because that was the language, yeah.
I know you had somebody on from Michigan, I think, recently.
Yes.
So he was talking about hockey. So yeah, I mean, I
Yes.
think if you grow up in that part of the
You have no choice. You're going to play hockey.
Yeah, you're going to play hockey. So I played a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then there was a Japanese cultural center in Toronto that my mother took me to, and I have vague memories as a child of like a big brush and kind of painting.
But she never
characters
spoke
or
to you in
something.
Japanese.
No, she never did. I mean, what's interesting is I think both of my parents were immigrants to Canada,
Mhm.
and I think my mother was very conscious. Like when she left Japan, like she was part
I
of a big
understand.
family, and it was like.
What number was she in the family? Was she the first, second, third, or?
She was
she was like the middle.
middle of
How many?
five.
Five.
Many children.
Yeah,
A five,
middle of
okay.
five.
And there were boys and girls.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
So
she was like smack in
But
the middle.
is she still here? She
no,
passed?
she passed last year actually. So
And your
that's-
father?
My father's still going in
Okay.
Toronto. So that's one of the reasons why we're moving back, is that because
You're
my
going to
mother
see him
comes-
tomorrow.
We are going, well, in 14 days after.
14
we
after
After we
land.
get cleared through
Yeah.
the
Oh, that's
quarantine.
right. You have to. Oh,
Yeah.
in Canada, because you're going to Canada, and you have to have that new pass. I think.
We got it. We got you mean the vaccine passport?
Vaccine
thing?
passports.
Yeah, we
Yes,
got
yes.
it.
It's only because there's only a couple of countries that
Yeah.
accept it right now.
Yeah. So
And also, because you're a Canadian citizen still, and
Yes.
so are you.
I'm not.
You're not.
So
Okay, but you don't have a problem. Then what do you do? Because she's your wife.
I go in
We'll
on
see.
a work
We'll-
visa.
And if she gets left behind,
it's all
if
right.
she's stuck with the
She
bag,
can hang out at the airport for a while.
She'll be okay.
fine.
She'll be okay.
She's very resourceful. She's very, yeah. She's all right. She'll be okay.
I'll live in the airport for
That's
10
right.
years.
No, that's right. We'll get her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going back, and after the 14 days, you're gonna be with your dad. Is he okay?
Yeah, no, he's fine.
Very happy about that.
So I think, I mean, the catalyst for this move, I'm taking a step back. Like Japan has been great. Like it's been really good to us.
But you're leaving Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
No, yeah. Oh, this is why when you were talking about making time, like literally,
You're done.
We're done. We've wrapped up. We've moved.
16
the
years.
Stuff is in the
Oh,
warehouse.
come
in Yokohama.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're gonna come back and everything. Look at me crying.
No.
Really?
It was-
No, but I
Oh,
mean,
it's been a great
Japan's
adventure.
been great, and ICANN was honestly a big part of like our Saturday
It has
mornings,
been, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mishimachi, and what happens with.
Well, I'm really happy I'm getting a chance to do this. I'm glad you accepted it.
Yeah, no, it's
to
great.
do it.
Yeah,
This is
and-
wonderful.
But with our kids, like it's nice when they have those little positive influences in their lives, right? Like different parts of the community. And I think it's one of the challenges of living in Japan, or at least in our community. It's not a big community, right?
That's
so,
right.
And it changes a lot.
It's
It does. It's very
You've got
transient.
people coming,
Very
people
transient.
going every 3 years. So we've been along part of it for 16 years.
You've had a decade or so,
and
almost
yeah,
2 decades.
and really, like, ICANN was great. And I remember sitting on the mat with Nate. And, what happens when you say you can, you believe it?
It makes things easier.
Makes things easier. and so no, but it really makes a difference, And I mean, like, even things like this podcast.
That makes me happy.
It's kind of a nice way. And I don't know everyone on the podcast, but I've listened to all of them. And from here in Helio, I've eaten at his restaurants.
Right.
Chuck, I actually met in a business capacity once, and so different. It's kind of a small enough community that's very interesting to hear all these stories. So we're sorry to be leaving, but I think
But you plan on coming back to visit, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course.
Did you raise the boys to be bilingual, or did you just raise them with English?
Kind of.
We didn't raise them bilingual English-Japanese. We
did
raised
English,
them bilingual English.
Did you do it? Yes, you figured that's going to be the next. Of course, that makes sense.
And it's where
and
we can be the most helpful. I can be the most helpful.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're going to be living in Canada.
Yeah.
Do you have a place already?
Yeah. So it's so.
He knows.
So
his house.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Assuming she gets through customs.
With your dad? With your dad?
Yeah. So we'll see how that works. Yeah. So so this is the whole. It was very hard last year because my mother received a cancer diagnosis earlier in the year in March. Complete surprise. Like, she was very healthy, very active. She was a great tennis player. She was very much part of the community there. She was in the Japanese Canadian choral team, and all this kind of stuff. So it was a real shock, and she went downhill very quickly and died in November. And at that time, obviously with COVID, it was very difficult to travel. So it was a 2-week quarantine on either sides. Coming back to Japan.
They couldn't even see her, could they?
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was
really
unclear.
horrible.
So there was. I applied for like a humanitarian exit to go to Japan. It wasn't clear if I was going to be able to come back into Japan at that time because we're not resident. So we've always just been, even though we've been here for 16 years, we're on work visas. But sometimes I think as nice as a place as Japan is, I think sometimes the rules are very much set not for these small communities that are kind of part of Japan. You kind of adapt into those rules.
That's true.
So
they have the hardest immigration laws than anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's hard to get here than any place.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, with the Olympics now, like I think there was someone who was claiming sort of refugee status or
no,
there was
they wouldn't take them.
They won't. No, so
they said bye-bye.
Yeah. So it's pretty black and white. But fortunately, just before I left, that they eased the restrictions. Said, okay, foreign residents in Tokyo who are here on a valid thing can come back in, but they need to go through these kinds of restrictions. So anyway, my mother got sick. I went back a couple of times during that process, which was difficult, and I really appreciate my work was really understanding because you're out of the office for 6 weeks because you're 2 weeks of quarantine in Canada, you got 2 weeks there, and then 2 weeks of quarantine back here before you can even get back into the office. So it was really tough. And then my father is kind of, they've been together for 50 plus 60 years. So now all of a sudden they are, he's by himself. And
how old is your father now?
He's 82.
82.
Yeah. So and I mean he's still working. Like he's still he's active.
But he's his partner.
Yeah.
His buddy.
Yeah. And somebody who's and they're both immigrants into Canada, right? So they actually met in Jacksonville, Jacksonville of all places. Yeah. So they
on a
student Yeah.
Yes.
No, so my father went from
like father, like son. What do you say? What do you say? What you say?
Something like that. Yeah. So they
during
really,
segregation, no less.
Yeah.
Is that right? When it was really difficult, yes.
Yeah, I think the university in Jacksonville was trying to kind of make a little statement about internationalism, so that they were building an international department, and they had
one Japanese.
That was exactly it, and they had
But that's what they, believe it or not. We try to get one of our sons into Keio elementary school because they were talking about how international they are, and we found out they have one different nationality in every grade, only one. They have an English kid, they have a French kid, they have a German kid, and that's it. Only one.
Well, it's funny because
he didn't get it.
After living here,
After
living here for a while, like usually when people, because we've been here for a bit, and so when new people come and we meet new couples and so on, and they're sort of acclimatizing, there's like a way I kind of explain Japan to them, and it's kind of stupid, but it basically what I say is like, look, you have to recognize that living in Japan is a little bit like living inside of a play. Right? Like there's a play going on during the day, and everybody has the script. All the people you meet, you go to the bank, there's a script, and they are just rolling through the script in the play. And it's like, Act 1, Scene 1, Peter enters the bank. right? And so I walk in, it's like, irashaimase, and then you come up, it's like, hi, could I please do this? Of course, do you have this? Yes, I have this. And then everyone does what it's doing. But I think the problem is when you're a foreigner, you don't know that you're in a play.
Right.
You don't know that there's an underlying script. And you're just improvising. So you're just reacting to the situation and kind of saying things that you think make sense in the context. And it's like, well, actually, could I get 2 copies of that receipt, please? And then they're kind of busy flipping. No, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say this.
Right.
And then everyone gets so freaked out. And so I think Japan, they like the stability of kind of everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what it is.
They know the script.
They get really anxious. It's like, I can imagine like there's a play going on and somebody is just improvising in the middle of the play. And nobody knows how to react to it,
That's such a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
I never thought of it that way. When I first came here, I went to a little shop to get some ice cream. And they had the samples outside. They had vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. So I told one I want strawberry and chocolate. And they came over and said, can you put it on the same dish? Nope.
Yeah.
That's not a part of the script.
No.
Not a part of the script.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it.
No.
And they were just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a foreigner, you're just like, but just put it on the plate. Like I just want it in the same bowl. It's fine.
It's save you a dish.
There's no big deal. Yeah, and I had a friend that we were, he was having a burger and he was eating a pickle on the side of he finished the pickle and he's like, hey, can I get another pickle? And, the waiter was like, well, and runs back to the kitchen. You can see them staring out. There's all this conversation and the maitre d' comes back and it's sort of like, very sorry, sir, we don't know how to charge you for a pickle.
Right.
We don't know. There's nothing in the book that tells us how much it is.
Right, it's one pickle per person.
I would just like a pickle, please.
Yeah.
And no, I'm so sorry. And okay, and he's like, can I have another burger? Oh, of course. And then, it comes in.
With the full set, with everything, with all the
everything. My friend eats the pickle and then we leave. And it was just kind of like, just to make the point. But I think foreigners, but it's kind of our superpower in Japan.
If you know how to use it. If you know how to use it.
Not in an aggressive way.
That's right, in a very nice way. Right.
Yeah, but to be able to, guys, this doesn't make sense.
Or not just that. I use it whenever I'm being stopped by the police.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
When you go like this, and no matter how long I've been here, longer than the policeman is stopping me, I'll go. And you have to have those Bambi eyes on. He said, you were going 1,000 miles an hour.
Right. I got confused. The steering wheel
and
was on this
side. Those. That's right. But you got to know what to do. You have to know your superpower.
Yeah, no, I think so.
That's good.
But I think in a corporate context, in my job, it's I've worked with great people, like really good people. But there's times where they will tell you stuff that they're not comfortable talking to other people about.
There's things that aren't on the script.
Right. Yeah, I guess so.
They can't.
I used to be on a executive board of a company, and there was everybody else on that board was 65 plus Japanese man, right? And then me, kind of sitting there.
And how old were you at that time?
Probably 30 something.
In your 30s?
Late 30s, like 35, something like that.
All right.
And so the president would be there, and he'd be saying, "This is what we're going to do, gentlemen. This is what we're going to be doing." Da, da, da. And I would sort of go like, I'm not quite sure if that would be the approach that I would take. Maybe we need to consider this or that or da da. And what was interesting to me was like the other guys at the table. They would all have their arms folded. They'd be like this. And I knew that if one of them was kind of like, that was my support to continue on. But he would never speak up. He would never speak up.
No, you better watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So but that was the kind of thing that like I felt like if you can be positively disrupting the script, if you can kind of say, guys, I know that officially right now he's supposed to talk and we're supposed to go yes, and then we walk out, and then we grumble about like why I don't know why that makes sense. But if we can actually positively raise the point during the meeting, we can get further ahead. So that was and so that was always a really nice advantage to have, I think, as a foreigner in Japan. It was really
because you don't look as Japanese, as Asian, as Lin does.
Japanese.
So how in your businesses, because you've worked I think for a couple of different. What were your experiences? Because they would automatically think you're Japanese.
Yes. I actually, our Japanese is not great, but it's all right. Right, we can get by.
But they know right away you're not
but
Japanese.
I actually deliberately, in certain contexts, don't
even
use
try
Japanese at all. I just speak
smart.
English because I think respect is not the right word. But like,
You want to be
Because
heard?
as a Chinese person or some other Asian person in Japan who doesn't speak Japanese fluently with an accent, with bad grammar, there is an assumption, certain negative assumptions. And I don't want to be associated with those assumptions.
Got you.
Then I turn on my American side.
Real
So
quick.
English speaking,
Right.
you know.
Don't know anything about this
forget-
culture.
Don't do all the mannerisms, and I just turn on the American.
And how's it work for you? How's that
It's
work?
worked well.
So tell me, give me a situation where you use that. Tell me the first time when you really it stuck that you said this works, and you started using it.
Well, I mean, he was talking about these superpowers, right?
Mhm.
For me to use those superpowers, I have to speak English.
Okay. So how?
Right?
Give me an
If you
example.
show
When
up
did
in
you
a-
do it?
No, I mean, like when we travel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our family walks up to the reception.
Yeah.
They immediately look at me
Talk to her.
and direct all
Yeah.
inquiries,
In
discussions,
Japanese.
everything to me in
This form,
Japanese.
yeah.
So what do you do?
And that's when I just, I just turn on the English.
Say, excuse
I
me.
just say, sorry, I don't speak Japanese. Can you speak English?
Mm.
And then they go. "Hmm?"
And then they
Then all of a
kind
sudden, then the whole group comes out,
simplify
Yeah.
everything and become a bit
It's your
more
puppy
flexible.
dog eyes. Yeah.
and you get the seat you wanted.
Yeah. No,
That's interesting.
I think it's tough. I mean, I'm actually interested in your experience too, because I
Yeah.
think it must be different, right? But I think if you're, this is my very basic assumption, but like, I think if you're a white guy, like a white older guy, you are at the kind of top, right?
Well, you won. Come on, you're the conqueror.
I think
Yeah.
You're the one that you won.
It's
You're Commodore Perry.
It's easy
Right.
to identify. People have assumptions going in, but then I think I think the people who have a really difficult time navigating these kinds of things actually are the Japanese who have been abroad for a few years.
Yeah.
That's true.
And come back.
Mhm.
I think fitting back into that rhythm.
Well, some of
because
them become
everybody
very bitter.
assumes that again. Everybody assumes you know what you're supposed to do, and you're not behaving the way you're
That's
supposed
right.
to.
That's
and
right.
they get very isolated very quickly, and I think that's really hard to navigate that
Yeah.
as a real Japanese person. And then I think there's different levels of
Yeah.
different Southeast Asians, and then Chinese, and like other levels, kind of
Koreans.
Koreans, right?
Yeah.
And all this
Wow.
stuff.
Being here for
That's
years.
right.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's very complicated, but
It
but
is.
yeah, I think all of that I find actually personally anyway, very interesting. So it's there's that's why I found listening to Chuck's podcast interview so interesting,
Mhm,
because that's a guy that has a really interesting take on ethnicity,
mhm.
on
Right.
identity,
Yeah.
and he
You mean
kind of-
Chuk?
Oh, Chuk. I'm sorry, not Chuck.
Because you're saying because
I
Chuck,
said-
the other guy, Chuck
I'm
was a
sorry,
martial
Chuk.
artist.
I'm sorry,
But you mean
Chuk.
Chuk when you use that?
Chuk,
Because I was
Chuk,
wondering,
Chuk.
what did
No, no, no,
what did
no.
Chuck say about
But,
ethnicity?
I mean, he grew up
He
here.
talked about Taekwondo and martial arts.
Korean.
Right.
Chuk, my mistake.
Right, Chuk.
But
Wasn't
growing
he
up,
good?
growing
Chuk
up
was good.
in Japan,
Yeah.
having the difficulties of being a foreigner,
A
looking
foreigner.
like a foreigner,
Look-
but feeling very Japanese.
Japanese, right? That's
Like,
all.
boy, that's-
He was always out of it.
Yeah,
Always
very
out of
interesting.
it.
And I
That
know
was
he has a
something.
son now who's mixed, who's half.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so I think his son is.
Well, I
going
call
to
them
answer those
double.
questions. Okay, yeah.
Because my sons,
Yeah,
they were,
sure, right.
No, I told my sons when they were young, when they were growing up, I said, now people are going to call you half. You don't have to say anything about it, but I want you to understand something. Mother gave 1 egg for sure, and Dad
Mm.
gave you 1 in a 300 million of a chance of being my child,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it was all of me.
Mhm.
So if anything, you're double.
Yeah.
And I use that also too when they say, Daddy, you say, I didn't pick you.
Mhm.
I put 300 million potential human beings in your mother. And you beat them all out to get here. So don't ever think I picked you. I was looking for the female. I'm sorry. I was looking, different with blue eyes or something.
Interesting.
But that's it. But your take on the superpowers, I think that everyone has to find that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
including the Japanese that are coming back,
Yeah.
that have been there, because they can do what you did.
Yeah.
They can say, excuse me, I don't know. Because if they do speak Japanese, as soon as they speak a word,
Yes.
they're going to know. You should know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should know, and they're going to not even try to
Yeah,
bend.
that's
Well,
right.
even the language itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually I can relate to this when I went to China as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
because I actually worked in China for a few years
Okay.
as an adult. So no longer the 12-year-old child, but
Right.
actually working, dealing with people. And I still have the Chinese. I still look Chinese. I sound Chinese. Everything about me says Chinese. People in China were shocked
Right.
when they eventually found out that I was actually American. But it's the same
But
thing.
because
As
you
soon as I
spoke,
turned-
wait. You kept the accent and everything when you speak
Yeah.
Chinese?
I'm a native speaker.
Yeah.
I mean, but it didn't get
No
changed
accents. No accents.
Because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
no
mean?
accents. No.
No,
Um,
her
So-
current
I
language is
forgot
really
vocabulary over the years in America, and I think the sophistication of my vocabulary was not there because I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go
I didn't
past
go
the 12th
beyond
grade,
sixth
past 12th
grade,
grade. Right, I understand.
But you can catch up on all that.
That's true.
So I went to China as a 20-something person, young professional, and I just like within a month I picked up everything that I needed, and so I was in business meetings, social contexts, all kinds of different contexts, where I find that to be the case, like. Because I didn't let on that I was from America. I didn't let on that I could speak English. It was just in Chinese.
But
And they treated me like a Chinese person.
Right, but
There's
you know what you were
no-
doing. But you know what you were doing right then. You were doing exactly what people were saying.
Yeah.
You were waiting to show them your superpower.
Yes.
Really, that's what you do.
Well,
Because
yeah, I think
that's the superpower. That's Superman. I always use him as an analogy.
Sure.
You never see him go like
Yeah.
this. Guess what? Guess what? Shoot me. Watch how fast I can fly. Watch let me shoot you. I'm gonna crash. He never does that.
Yeah.
He keeps it hidden, and that's what you did. But once they find out,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah. But I think this is kind
It's
of
beautiful.
But this is, it's interesting because we're obviously moving back to Canada, and I think for us one of my anxieties going back is for the kids going into new schools, right? Like that's a big adjustment, right?
It is,
They've
yes.
grown up in Japan,
And they're gonna have to learn
and
all
they
of that.
went to a Montessori school here with Pete Judd's school.
Fantastic.
Great school.
Wonderful.
Small.
They had the
great
one-on-one
community.
type of
Fantastic.
education
Yeah,
everyone should
yeah,
get.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna get.
Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment, right?
A big adjustment.
What's interesting is, my oldest Nate, they've started doing some calls over the summer, right? So introduction calls, and which is nice, like induction kind of things. Hey, you kids, you can get on the call, the Zoom call, and they say hi, introduce themselves and stuff. And he's discovered that everyone in the school, at least he's heard this on the call, that they all like the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Right, which is the Andy Samberg.
I haven't seen it. I've seen it, but I know it's a show, but I have never seen
So
it.
Nate has been binging that show
To make sure he's up
enjoying
to.
it. But that's the thing, right?
To make sure he's
Studying
up to-
Canada.
Because that's what they're going to talk about.
Yeah,
That's what they're
and
gonna talk
this is
about.
the thing. It's like, so I think there's a period in your life where you're trying to fit in. And then there's a
Yeah.
period in your life where you're comfortable being outside of that.
That's right. 'Cause
And,
you're
and
not
trying
used-
to establish your differentiation. Like,
That's right.
I'm different. Like, for me, it's always been an excuse. One embarrassing thing about being in Japan this long we don't speak Japanese well.
No.
And honestly, we never thought we were going to be in Japan this long. It was always like 3 years and then extend the contract and extend another year and then, another 2 years and now there's another 3. And,
Another
so,
kid came.
Yeah, and then
Another
a kid came, and another
kid
kid.
came.
Yeah. So, but it was always about. It was never really the plan, but we never really learned the language, but as well as we should after 16 years.
But I don't know that that's actually the
Yeah,
case.
no.
Pete.
I think it's okay, but for
Yeah.
me, I've always kind of justified it to myself. But like, look, the value I'm bringing
Mhm.
in these different company contexts is that the value I'm bringing is not. I speak Japanese well.
That's right.
There's a lot of people in Japan who speak
But you
Japanese
understand
well.
the culture well.
Right. As long as I understand that and I can respect it and I can kind of understand it and understand how I can affect it, maybe in a positive way, and build a team or do good work, or that's where I'm going to add value.
Mhm.
So it's never really been a focal point for me in terms of learning the language. But, I think going to Canada, there is going to be this question about how do we fit in? How do we stand out? In Japan, it's real clear. Like, you are...
You don't fit in.
You don't fit in. So you have to
I
get
like that.
comfortable with not fitting in and
Right.
finding your place.
Being other.
Yeah, being the other.
Being other. And once you,
Yeah, it's
So
not
for-
American Club.
right.
It's a great place
To-
for
to-
that other community.
That's right. That's
You know.
when you come, if you can work it out in
Yeah.
your budget to belong to a club like this,
Yeah.
it's worth it. If to be an expat
Yeah.
of means is always the best way to go wherever you're going to go.
Yeah.
If you're going to be another,
Sure.
and I think it's the best.
Yeah.
And I know that your schedule is going to be tight because I promised I wouldn't keep you so long. You've already gone a little bit past that, but I want you to end by telling me what are some of the things that impressed you the most about this country since you're leaving.
Oh gosh.
Just three things that really stick out in your mind. Pick just 3 things, and I know there's 1,000, but still, what are 3 things that stick out in your mind that you're going to miss about?
I'll let Lynn go first.
No.
Lynn, go first. You go first. And you can't say the same things. Even if you have to say something different. Because I'm assuming that both of you feel the same way about it. But give me,
Yeah.
so it'll be 6 things you're telling me, but only 3 each.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Give me 3 things, though. that you really like?
I mean, I guess the obvious things
Say it.
are the easy, like safety,
That's one.
right? We have young children.
Yeah.
I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I have never worried about safety. We left our front door unlocked for 16 years.
And not
literally.
one burglar. Right?
Literally.
Not one.
Literally.
Not one. I
Literally.
know.
The door
I
is
know.
open.
People.
Unlocked
I know.
for 16
16
years.
years.
We've done all sorts of things with our children that I was joking with him, like, we gotta look up child abandonment laws in Canada because I think it might be considered illegal.
What you been doing with your
What we've been
boys?
doing with our
Your
kids.
boys, yeah, I got you.
But the absolute safety, personal
Okay,
safety.
that's one. Two.
I mean, just the culture, the food,
the food.
you know,
the food. You like it.
the culture. I mean, it's just it's frustrating at times for sure. And as the Chinese, not the white person, I think probably more frustrated than other expats. But having said all that, it is just a beautiful culture. It's
Isn't
amazing.
it? Isn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know what else. Actually, this little community.
Okay, the community.
Right? It's and we've remarked on this many times. Like Tokyo is this, mega city.
It's one of the largest in the world.
It doesn't feel that way.
When you have this community.
We're in a village.
That's right.
You know, and I came from a mega city of Shanghai, and it was the same. Like I existed in a little bubble, in a little
bubble, yeah.
As a local in Shanghai as a child, but it was a little neighborhood village type feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But Shanghai is a mega city, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first city in the U.S. I landed in was a little town called Ames, Iowa, of 50,000 people, and I felt so disconnected because it didn't feel like a village.
That's right.
So, and then that's what I'll miss here. Like, it's this feeling of being part of a little village, but with all the resources and excitement
anything you want, anything
of a big city. Yeah, it's amazing.
Pete?
Yeah,
You're
so,
three.
Yeah, I
You
actually,
wrote them down. You wrote them down. This
no,
guy's
it's a great,
academic.
It's a tough question. It's a tough question. No, so I think one.
You'll probably be proud.
I think for me, one thing that I've recently really come to appreciate in Japan is the focus on craft. It doesn't matter what people do, but they take their crafts very seriously. So it doesn't matter if they're, if you go to New York and you order a drink in a nice bar or something, the bartender is not really a bartender. He's an actor, right? But he's just doing this part-time until he gets his break.
Job, right.
And you
exactly.
kind of know he's not a bartender,
Exactly.
if you know what I mean.
I know.
But if you go to Japan, you go to Ibisu and you walk around in the side streets or something, you find a bar and you find a guy in a small bar, that's his craft.
And he will not leave it.
And
No.
That's his lifetime.
One of
That's
our
right.
favorite restaurants is this okonomiyaki place in Kagarazaka. Tiny place, but it's a family. And they make, 4 kinds of okonomiyaki. There's a deluxe, there's a special, there's this and that. And that's all they do. But they make the most delicious okonomiyaki, savory pancake kind of thing. But it's their craft. And, I've had the opportunity as well through work to have some connections with a couple of Japanese national living treasures. People like Moriguchi-san,
Yes.
who's a yuzen kimono artist, and or enameling lacquer artist and stuff. And again, like that focus on craft, and I really admire that. And what's interesting is I don't think North America to me has that discipline. There was
they did when they were being
maybe
discovered at the time.
Maybe
But
there's
they're
elements
losing
of
the chance.
it. There's elements of it.
But Japan bred it into the people. It's completely different.
Yeah, and it's everywhere.
That's right.
And you go to McDonald's.
That's right.
And the person working at McDonald's, again, it's not a part-time. They're doing their best in that job, and they want to learn how to do it really, really well. And that can be frustrating at times because if you are improvising, you're like, "Hey, could I get another slice of cheese?" They don't know what to do.
It's like watching your kids learn to tie their shoes.
Yeah.
That's how frustrating it is.
It's true.
Why don't you just...
Yeah, Velcro. Velcro is the answer.
So that's one thing. So you like
craft, that idea of
okay.
craft and the discipline is really appreciated.
What else you write down?
I wrote down the community, which is related to Lin, but the reliability. Like I think, and it's related to safety and community and so on. But it's that's like, it's very predictable. Like so, you don't. There's very few surprises. So it's real nice. Like that I ride my bicycle to work every day, and I kind of know what that route is. And there's a kind of reliability, and the people are very reliable too. They try to do their best. you're not going to have too many bad actors. You're not going to have individualists that are kind of not going to fit in and trying to do their own thing. Again, I guess it depends on industry and so on. But my experience has been that people are very reliable, and I really appreciate that. And in my own team and stuff, like they worked really hard for me, in different contexts, and I really appreciated that. I could really rely on them to be there for me, and I found that what my job was to be there for them. So like it was a symbiotic kind of thing. So that sense of reliability, whereas I kind of get the sense there's going to be a little bit more, I'm trying to get ahead.
Wait. Yeah. You better watch your back.
Yeah, it's that team stuff,
right.
So
I'll
the
help
team
you
is
out
really solid.
until.
Yeah.
And the last thing
Okay.
I think is just, just the curiosity. I think people in Japan in general are actually very kind. Like they really are, and they're curious. Like they're very interested, legitimately, in getting to know you, and they're wondering what your background is. In the foreign community, but also in the Japanese community, and it's a very open and welcoming place to live. So it's been great for us. Like it's been really, really good. And now we go to the next chapter, and I'm sure it's going to be exciting. And I know Toronto because I grew up there, or Toronto, as we might say. But
as a Canadian,
you gotta say,
right?
Sorry, but
sorry.
I think it's
to learn that.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be.
We won't be able to
For me, I'm
understand
going back, and I know what a wonderful place Toronto is as a place too.
The boys are going to learn how to do hockey too.
Yeah. So it will ski, and there's going to be hockey, and there's going to be good schools, and I know how kind people are there too. So
it's going to be beautiful.
And it's much more multi-ethnic, right? Like,
yes, it is.
It's actually a bit jarring when we go back for summer vacations, because it's like, wow, there is everybody on this bus. Like
that's right. This is the thing I like. Tell me about it.
It's
Everything.
awesome. We got Caribana there.
Tell me about
huge Caribbean community.
I just came back. Yeah.
It's wonderful. So
but not from Canada,
I love
but
that.
the US.
I love that. So I miss that multicultural vitality. So as much as I like the stability of Japan, the multicultural thing I'm looking forward to. But it's going to be different. So it's a big adjustment. But Japan's been really good to us. So we've been really happy.
I want to thank both of you for taking the time to do this, and I think this is going to probably be one of my best podcasts, one of the best we've had, because you're really in there. And I've never heard you speak so much, Pete. My goodness,
Normally you're telling me to hold on to their head and let them bounce. That's what my job is, right? You're telling me
something. That's
right.
Interesting. No, because he always comes to class
easier,
and he says,
right?
I can't wait till this Sunday's done. I can't wait till Monday, So I can tell,
back to my desk.
Can't wait to get back there, what's happening.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, and thank
Listen,
you.
all of you watching, I want you to make sure that you press like, subscribe, continue to reach for the stars. Remember, it's all on loan, and you're too, what?
Blessed
Blessed to be stressed.